So Panti, welcome to Australia.
Thanks for having me.
And I congratulate you and Ireland on the passing of the marriage equality law. What I'd like to know from you, what is your take on Australian society? You've been here a couple of times now.
Yeah.
How do you observe us?
Well, I think like all countries, you have your little dichotomies. So I've always had a fabulous time here. I've always felt very welcomed as a gay person here. Gay community seems very vibrant here. And then on the other hand, it's just a little odd that this giant debate is still happening about marriage equality here. So, I mean, I think that's typical of every country. They have their little thing. So, and I find generally Australians to be very open and accepting.
In your opinion, from what you've been able to glean on this visit, what's your feeling of what's out there on the street? Do people in Australia want marriage equality, or is it going to be difficult to achieve?
I think if you're going to have a plebiscite, it's always difficult because it's easy to frighten people. So the people who are vehemently against will be throwing out all sorts of insane and crazy arguments, most of them totally unfounded in fact, and they'll be scaring people. And that's what happens. That's what happens every time. So regardless of what a poll will tell you now, which I think says that around 70% of Australians are in favour, and that I'm sure is the case, but some of those people will be frightened off voting yes by some of the crazy arguments that are going to be thrown out.
Have you got any advice for the Australian campaigners and people who are lobbying for marriage equality here?
Yes. It's a massive job. You're going to have to work really hard. You're going to have to get as many allies on your side as possible. You're going to have to get young people involved. Young people are incredibly important in the Irish result. They voted in much higher numbers than that than they would normally in anything else, because it's the kind of thing that appeals to idealistic young people. It's a simple question. Essentially, do you believe in equality for gay people is essentially the question. There's a sort of a simple idealistic question that appeals to idealistic young people. So you need to get young people involved, get them all registered to vote, make sure they're all registered to vote. And then other than that, is to keep your head and getting angry, being dismissive of people's concerns or fears, even if those fears are horribly unfounded, won't win you any votes. You need to allow people to have their fears or their doubts and then persuade them otherwise.
Well, Ireland was looked at as a fairly conservative country before it brought marriage equality in. I think the referendum result was 63%, is that correct? Yeah. Would you see that happening here in Australia, getting a fairly good result?
I would hope so. I think if you run a good campaign, and I'm absolutely sure you can, I think most people, apart from the very hardcore anti-gay types, most people want to vote yes. But sometimes they'll be a little afraid to vote yes, because you always need a little courage to vote to change something. And it's more comfortable to vote to keep things the way they are. So the yes side always has a slightly harder problem. The more difficult mountain to climb. But I think it's it's achievable, and I'm sure it will happen.
What would you say to all those homophobes out there who would vote against marriage equality in Australia?
Marriage equality won't affect your life in any way, shape or form. It will make no difference to anybody's lives, except it will just mean that the gay community in this country feel more accepted, they'll feel happier, they'll feel more comfortable. And some of those will then choose to get married and have the legal protections that marriage brings. That is all. It will have no other effect. It will have no effect on anybody else or anybody else's lives or anybody else's marriage. So why don't you just allow people to live their own lives?